So for lesson 4, let's look at our learning target. Our learning target is I can decompose whole number values into hundredths, not hundreds, hundredths with a THS. And then I can represent or show and count numbers in the hundredths. So if we're talking about the hundredths place, we're talking about decimals. Here's our tenths. We don't have oneths. It goes right to tenths. Hundredths, and then thousandths. But we're talking about the hundredths place. So that means we're talking about this spot on a place value chart right here. So let's look at the number 2.39. I would read that as 2 and 39. 39 hundredths. This 9 digit is in the hundredths spot. 2 and 39 hundredths. For 2 and 39 hundredths, you're looking at the digit that the number ends in. That's the furthest to the right. And that spot on the place value chart is my hundredths spot. So I'm going to say 2 and 39 hundredths. If I wanted to look at the number 4 and 26 hundredths, it's hundredths because the 6 is in the hundredths spot. I can say the same thing with any of these numbers. 1 and 59 hundredths, 3 and 27 hundredths, because it's the second spot over, right? We were just talking about tenths. We would have said 2 and 3 tenths because that's what we were talking about. We're now talking about hundredths as well. So you've also got to think, if we're looking at it like this as a decimal, our fraction would have looked like, we're talking about tenth space, right? It would have been 2 and 3 tenths, right? But now we're talking about hundredths. So if you have a number like 2.39 and you have 2 and 39 hundredths, then we're talking about 1 out of 100. So that fraction is going to look like this: 2 and 39 hundredths, just like that. So if I have a number like 2 and 39 hundredths and I'm decomposing it with a number bond, I can say, okay, I have 2 ones, so that's 2. I have 3 tenths, or 0.3, and I have 9 hundredths. Or 0.09. So let's look at this picture and figure out what this is illustrating. I can look at this and see that I have a block of 100. And this is a block of 100. So most likely we're going to be talking about units, 1 unit being 1/100th, or 1/100th. So if we wanted to look to see what we have here, what is this illustrating as a fraction? I've got one whole shaded in. So I have one hole right here. And like I said before, this is broken into hundredths. So not tenths, but hundredths. How many of these one little blocks of these 100ths do I have colored in? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Or I could simply go 10, 20. But I've got 20 hundredths. Wouldn't it look like this? 2 colored in out of 10. So it would look like 2 out of 10 are colored in. 2/10. But it's broken into hundredths. So because it's broken into hundredths, I've got 20 hundredths. This shaded in, but we had that shaded in. I still have 1, and I know this was 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 hundredths. 23 hundredths. Just like that. Let's look at one more between 0 and 1. And I'm going to plot a number on this number line. So I've plotted a space on this number line. And you can't see it, so I'm going to try to zoom in here. Right there. Do you see it? So what I want to do is, I know that this is broken into tens, but this is broken into hundredths because I've got 10 in here. So I'm going to look at it as counting by tens because I have to find the hundredths. So I'm going to say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. 61, 62, 63, 64. 64 hundredths as a fraction. And as a decimal, no 1, so 0. 64 hundredths.